In-depth journalism in the Memphis community, the Daily Memphian is of Memphis, not just in Memphis, and seeks to tell the stories of this city. TheDailyMemphian.com. Truth in place.
Hey, y'all, and welcome back to the Daily Memphian's Tigers Basketball Podcast. I'm Parth Upadhyaya, the Daily Memphian's Tigers Basketball beat writer, and I'm joined, as always, by John Martin, our college sports columnist here at the DM. John, how you doing?
What's up, brother? It's tournament time.
Let the madness begin. It's March Madness. It's finally here. I know you've been counting the days down for these AAC games to end, and the end is here, right? It's over.
Yay!
Man, we got a lot to get to, but first, please like, review this podcast on your favorite podcast app, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you may get your podcasts from. You can also check out all of our podcast episodes and all of our work writing-wise at dailymemphian.com, so please be sure to do that. John, man, a hobbled Tigers team, hobbled but hungry. That was the title of that was the headline, rather, of my gamer that I filed at the buzzer. Hobbled but hungry. Tigers take care of UAB. How did they do it, man? They had 9 available players, 9. And 2 of those 9, one was Dink Yates, who was a walk-on, 3 months ago. Penny awarded him with a scholarship mid-season. And another true freshman, Jared Harris, who's played, 40-something minutes, or had played a total of 40-something minutes coming into Sunday. How did the Tigers get it done?
Well, yeah, I mean, you kind of nailed it, man. I mean, they were hungry. Stay within striking distance there in that first half. Obviously, come out with that 8-0, 9-0 run. I mean, the biggest part of it really felt like they just rode Dane Danger, Paul. But they certainly, went through him the entire game, and UAB could not stop it. They didn't send a double. They just kind of left Dane one-on-one, and he made him pay every single time. So obviously you got him, and then PJ it was kind of a mirror image, right? Or I don't even know if it was a mirror image. It was like a replay of the last game in Birmingham, where UAB had the lead at half, and then they just could not get a stop on Memphis in the second half. So, Memphis clearly just kind of owned UAB this year. They were the better team, and you saw it kind of play out there in that third game for the title.
Yeah, and it goes back to your point, or a point you've made all season long. And I guess at times I've kind of debated you on it or whatever. But yes, Memphis has screwed around with the likes of Rice and I don't know, Tulane less so, but these mediocre AAC teams, when the lights get bright, right? When it's time to play UAB, a team that is one of the better ones in the conference, a team they have personal beef with, they have an emotional tie to beating. It's BTA season, right? As Dane Danger would say, they take care of business. And they did that again. I thought it was really impressive, man. No Tyrese Hunter, no Dante Harris. I went into that game. I didn't say it on record. I didn't say it on the radio or anything, but I went into that game having doubt as to I knew Memphis would compete, or I felt Memphis would compete, but I didn't think it could pull it off with that short of a rotation, being that thin and that beat up, third day in a row, playing a very physical UAB team. But, somehow, some way they did. Obviously, they get rewarded for their season, for that game, whatever, with a 5 seed, right? That kind of shocked not only us as media, but also the players and Penny Hardaway in that conference room at Dickies Arena afterward when they were watching the CBS Selection Sunday show. I asked Penny on, I believe it was Saturday night, right? I was like, hey, man, I know you want to win everything, but you're down to 9 guys. You're one more injury would end the season, effectively end the season. I said, what's stopping you from calling off the dogs, right? Punting, so to speak, on the AAC title game and ensuring health and rest, making those things a priority heading into the NCAA tournament. And he basically kind of scoffed at that idea, right? He was like, no, this is, we're Memphis and we're winners and we want to win everything that's on the table. We want to get it. And they sure enough did. Do you think that game made any difference whatsoever as far as seed line, as far as where Memphis would have ended up had they done what I threw out there and kind of punted, so to speak, on winning that?
No, I mean, the committee told you that. The committee told you that their top 9 seeds were done on Saturday. So, no, they could have lost by 150 points and it wouldn't have changed anything.
Did that, as somebody who's followed the program and as somebody, obviously a Memphis alum, did that mean anything to you that Penny decide to go after it versus punting? Do you think that was a smart move, dumb move? Where do you stand on that?
I mean, look, I respect the fact that Penny wants to win everything he does. Like, I do respect that. Uh, I would have preferred him not,
Mhm.
just because of how fragile the team was from a health standpoint. One more injury, and look, Dane was holding his shoulder, but one more injury and that was going to be curtains, man.
No doubt.
So I just think, yeah, I get it. You want to win everything you do, but I think, it was definitely a calculated risk. And I would also say, like, who cares about winning the tournament? It doesn't matter to your seeding. It doesn't matter to your overall picture of the year. Like, nobody remembers who wins conference tournaments unless it's a team that needed it to make it, right? They don't.
Right.
So whether Memphis had won or lost it, it wouldn't have changed anything about my opinion of them. But they wanted to win it, and they went out there and did it. And credit to them, they swept the AAC.
I don't know. I think there's benefits to playing that game seriously and winning it in the fashion that Memphis did that you can't really quantify, right? Like, just the morale boost that gives you and the confidence that gives you, quite frankly, to beat, we joke about the conference, we joke about UAB as well, but UAB is, a team that is right outside that top 100 of all the metrics, Ken Palm, net, whatever it may be. So it's not like you're playing some D2 school. And to beat that team in the fashion that they did, being shorthanded, I think that's got to give you confidence going into the tournament. But man, getting that 5 seed, I know we talked about it, but the instant reaction from the team, guys were jumping up and down, but it seemed like Penny was a little bit stunned. Maybe that's a strong word, but a little bit shocked, certainly, when he saw the number 5 next to Memphis's name on CBS on that Sunday evening. Were you shocked? What was your reaction?
Yeah, I mean, I was pretty shocked because the entire consensus was it was going to be an 8. I mean, that was the consensus at Bracket Matrix. Nobody had him higher than a 6.
Nobody.
I mean, that's not just one person. That's the entire group of people that do this, right?
118. Yes, it's insane.
And are pretty good at it, right? Overall, some better than others, but somebody's good at it, right?
Right.
So yes, it was definitely shocking. But not because it wasn't shocking in the sense that like we didn't think they deserved it. It was shocking only because nobody thought it was happening. We all know that Memphis's non-conference schedule, was elite. We know how they fared in that schedule was elite. It was just like their metrics were so bad, and you felt like, all right, that's what's going to get weighed. And clearly, it was more about the non-conference than anything else. And I would say, that's how it should be because it'll continue to incentivize teams to, schedule hard games, in the non-conference.
Yeah, and we just got off that, live Q&A we did with some subscribers here at the Daily Memphian, and I said it there, but you just look at Memphis on one side and Gonzaga on the other, right? And I think you look at how they were seeded, those two teams, and that tells you all you need to know about the way the committee viewed this thing and what they valued and what they didn't. Gonzaga was kind of the inverse of Memphis, right? They were top 10, top 12, I believe, in most metrics, Ken Palm, net, Bar Torbeck, whatever it may be. But their wins above bubble, they were like 35 in that. They played really nobody throughout their season. And Gonzaga got an 8, right? So that's a team that, according to Ken Palm, if you're seeding it by that, metrically deserves what, a 3 seed, a 4 at worst. They're on the 8-9 line, right? Memphis, on the other hand, poor metrically, right? Like 51st in Ken Palm, 52nd in the net, I believe, as of today, but went out and scheduled really aggressively. 4th toughest non-conference slate and went 10-3 through that slate with wins against UConn, Ole Miss, Clemson, Mizzou. That list kind of goes on, Michigan State. And they were rewarded for it. So I think that's got to be encouraging if you're Penny to show that, okay, yes, this conference is trash, right? It is worse than mid, quite frankly, because it's 10th, I think, according to Ken Palm, among all leagues in D1. But there is a path to get this thing done in terms of what you want to accomplish in March, even while being a member of the American Athletic Conference. Is that fair to say, or is that way too optimistic of a viewpoint?
No, I think it's fair. I mean, I think, you're looking for reasons to hang on, given that you can't do anything else. So as long as you can continue to do what you did this year, and, obviously they went what, 10-3. So, that's the higher level. But, even if you went 8-6 or 8-5, I should say, you'd still probably be a 6 or maybe a 7. But you're not going to be doomed, right, in the AAC to 8-9. And I think that's the biggest thing. That's the best part of it, for sure, because you don't have an invite anywhere else as of right now, so you got to make the best of it.
Yeah, it's the only home they know, as you said earlier. Um, it's tough, and this is kind of a conversation for the offseason, but I wonder, like, with what Memphis did this season, rather, like scheduling as aggressively as it did and winning all those games, is that going to deter teams from wanting to play the Tigers moving forward? Like, is it possible to build a gauntlet, an absolute gauntlet of a non-conference schedule season after season, or are teams going to start saying, maybe we don't want to play the Tigers? I don't know. That remains to be seen.
Because it's still a quad one opportunity, right? Like Memphis represents that. So, I think as long as Memphis holds up its end of the bargain, and obviously don't forget, like ESPN needs teams for their events. So ESPN will get involved, right? These
Right.
networks get involved. Memphis will be in those types of events. That's going to be where a lot of it feels like it's played, in my view.
No doubt. No doubt. Obviously, that's a conversation for weeks down the road. This season is still ongoing. Something that is discouraging, obviously, is that, they got the seed they wanted. They took care of business. If you're a Tigers fan, you can't really ask for much more sitting here on March 18th than what they've done to this point. But you're going into the big dance hobbled, right? You're down Tyrese Hunter, who the program has not put anything out officially on what his injury is, what his status really is either. We talked to Penny this morning during a press conference. This is Tuesday morning, March 18th, and he kind of said that, and I'm paraphrasing here, but he said, hey, y'all know I'm a praying man. Just know that it's going to take prayer and then some for Tyrese to be playing Friday. So it sounds like he's all but certainly ruled out. I'm not sure if it's a broken foot or what it is, but it doesn't look good. We all saw it happen when he stepped on Baraka Koji's foot in that AAC tournament semifinal. Without him, and with a big question mark still surrounding Dante Harris's status, obviously Harris had that high ankle sprain he suffered, I think it was March 4th at UTSA, and had been in a walking boot up until the Fort Worth trip. Without those two guys, you're down to, like I said, 9 available players. You're almost having to rely on Baraka Okoji, sophomore transfer guard from George Mason, for at least 25 to 30 minutes, if not more, a game. Is that enough against a red hot Colorado State team, a 12 seed Rams team in the first round in Seattle on Friday?
Yeah, I think obviously Dante Harris is a big question mark for me. I'd like to just have some leadership out there if I can't get Tyrese Hunter, but I do think it's enough. I think people have kind of gone a little nuts with the Colorado State love.
Yeah.
I know they have their quality coach, quality program, but Memphis has a freaking All-American, bro. Like,
no doubt.
There are levels to this. Is kind of where I'm at with it. So that's again, I need to know that Dante is playing. It feels like he will. If he does, I like Memphis a lot in the game. But I still think that Memphis can find a way. I still think Memphis would be able to find a way to do it with or without Dante. So I do. I think Memphis finds a way to win the game.
Yeah, look, man, Colorado State, like, yes, they're hot. The Rams are hot. They won 10 straight. They, pounded teams day in, day out in that Mountain West Conference tournament just this past week. But they've really played, in terms of their entire body of work, they've played nobody, man. They got 3 quad one wins. All 3 have come against the same opponent. They beat Boise State 3 times. So they haven't seen the variety of elite opponents that Memphis has seen, right? In terms of the ones that saw in Maui and Clemson and Ole Miss, Mississippi State, and that, like I said, the list goes on and on. I don't think they've been tested. And you look at, people point to the metrics like Ken Palmer, Bar Torvik, like how high Colorado State is compared to Memphis in those. Once again, it's not that big of a difference to me. I think it's like they're 41st. Memphis might be 52nd in Ken Palm. So it's marginal difference. Plus they haven't been tested. I think that kind of favors Memphis as long as, like you said, if Dante plays, I'd feel a lot better. But even if Dante doesn't play, I think that's a very winnable game despite Memphis being underdog. And I think Memphis relishes that underdog role. Penny said it today that, and this is almost a direct quote from his press conference. He said, hey, I looked at that and I knew the disrespect was still real, and that's kind of the messaging that's going on in that facility, that, hey, they still don't believe in us. Let's go show them.
Yeah. I mean, historically, This is where Penny Hardaway is really good as an underdog. So it's all kind of lining up for him. I think that's the thing. And PJ Haggerty is a guy that brings chaos to a game, and I think it's really hard to game plan for that. And I think that's what you're going to see with Colorado State on Friday.
Yeah, no doubt. Now, obviously, if they get past Colorado State on Friday, you're set up against likely a 4 seed Maryland team that's also pretty hot. Thin, but they have one of the best starting fives, in America in college basketball. So it'd be either a 4 seed Maryland or 13 seed Grand Canyon. Yep. Let's assume the Terps advance. Let's assume the Tigers take care of business on Friday. That to me, man, it seems like an uphill battle. I know you said, you've used the word fugazi, right, to talk about the Terps, but that's a team that's top 15 in almost every single computer metric, whatever you want to use to measure it up. It just seems like a really tall task for an undermanned Tigers team. Is that what do you feel? How do you feel about that?
I mean, they'll be underdogs for sure. I mean, but they were underdogs at Clemson. They were underdogs against Michigan State. They were underdogs against UConn. I mean, it's going to be a role that they're super familiar with, Parth. And I just don't really think that this Michigan team, led by Kevin Willard, is
Maryland.
Excuse me. This Maryland team is going to strike fear in anybody's heart. I don't see that as the case. They're certainly a good team. That's why they're 4. I think the Big Ten as a league is down. Just not really a fan of them. So look, I'll be betting Memphis if it ends up being Memphis, Maryland against the spread. I'll definitely be on Memphis.
So is it safe to say that when John Martin sits down and puts pen to paper on a bracket, you've got the Tigers penned into the Sweet 16 to end a drought that stayed in 2009?
I do. I got Memphis going to the Sweet 16. I sure do.
Wow. You heard it here first, folks. I don't know if you said it on the radio yet. You probably have, but
yeah. You heard it here at some point.
At some point. You heard it here at some point. It's a bold prediction. Look, man, if Tyrese
had him going to the Sweet 16 in the preseason.
That was with Tyrese Hunter. That was with their third most important player. That's a big loss, man. That's a huge loss.
It is. I agree with you. I don't feel as good about it against Maryland, obviously. That's not ideal. But, crazier things have happened.
No, but I'm definitely with you on the Colorado State hype being a little bit blown out of proportion. Obviously, good team. Nico Medved, great coach, of course. A coach that's going to be probably moving on to a power job after this season, Power 5 job, Power 4 job. Yep. But it just seems like matchup-wise, that favors Memphis, especially with how good Memphis's bigs are playing. Colorado State just doesn't have that size to match up with Dane Danger and Musa Cisse, who are both firing on all cylinders at this point.
Exactly. So I think some things are working out, man. I think some things are working out for Memphis. You get a 5, you got to win that game. It's as easy a matchup as they've had, in 16 years. They've never been a 5 seed. The highest they've gotten was a 6 since Cal left. So got to take advantage.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Obviously, I'll be out in Seattle. I'm flying out tomorrow. Jeff Calkins and Tim Buckley, will be with me as well, giving you all the coverage from the Daily Memphian out on the West Coast. John, you'll be in Vegas. Tell us about your plans for the early rounds of the tournament.
I'll be doing some Field of 68 stuff out there, and then I'll be doing what you do in Vegas, man. So I don't want to get into too many details. You know how it goes. No face, no case. Come on, bro.
I got you. My bad, bro. Didn't mean to dry snitch there. Anyway, appreciate y'all tuning in. That's about all the time we have today. We're hoping that we can still continue to bring you, coverage throughout this journey, and that this journey extends past Friday. I guess we'll find out soon.
Yes, sir.
But thanks for listening. Be sure to, like I said, subscribe, review, all that good stuff on your favorite podcast platform, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, whatever it may be. And check us out at dailymemphian.com. We will talk to y'all very soon.